Boeing, Coldwell Banker, Disney, the Orange County Register, and the University of California, as well as many others who are equally valuable and important to Teresa. Her objective has always been to discover the unique qualities of every business and visually communicate their true identity with expressive, emotional, and memorable design. If you'd like to learn more about the radio show podcast that I host, or my role as a business mentor here in Orange County, California, then please visit our company's website, criticalmass4business.com. Teresa, welcome to our radio show.
It's nice to be here, Richard.
It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So I talked a bit about what your firm does. How did you get into graphics design?
How did I get into it? I was an artist for most of my younger life.
Sure.
And I wanted to have a job, just a career. And I decided I would go in that direction of design because it was related to art. I had those kind of hand-eye coordination skills and talent. So I did go to college for that, and I discovered I really loved it. I truly did. A turning point real quick was when I went to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. I saw that art could actually express emotion and thoughts and feelings. And so I found that to be true when I was a designer, that I could actually communicate with visuals, but I was taught how to do that, of course. But anyhow, that was my turning point where I go, hey, I'm an artist, but I could make this, into something in the marketplace. I could be part of the business world. So I've been doing it for a while. I
said 25 years in the open.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found interesting that I just wanted to follow up on with you, if it's okay, is in the open, I mentioned that your work, you need to understand the unique qualities of your client, which I think is something that's really sounds special, and I applaud you for wanting to know that, and then translating that into expressive, emotional, and memorable design. So can you just, for our audience of other entrepreneurs, could you just take a minute and sort of, not to formally explain your process for how do you do that, but what does that entail for you to be able to really understand your client's unique qualities so that you can translate those into something that resonates on the format that you're designing for them?
Well, it's the same process for all designers, that are professionals. We explore as far as we can with the budget that we have.
Sure.
Larger companies, of course, have research and whole teams of people and lots of energy behind it. I have big clients, but so we and small. So we go into that same discovery phase, but not at a huge level, but just enough to go through to find out about what they do, what their personalities are, what the purpose is, what their benefit is. So when I go through a kind of an exercise with them, I discover a lot. And the only missing thing is we don't usually get a chance to ask their customers what they think. That's for a little bit, bigger budgeted kind of things, but I get a lot of information, and I respect where they're at.
So when you've nailed it, Teresa, when you have done and you kind of captured, I don't know if this is the right word, but the essence of the client in a sense, and you've translated it into maybe their logo or to some images or some social media campaign, have you ever found them to really connect to what you've done, sort of like an aha moment for them? Are you giving them something that they go, wow, that really is, I wouldn't know how to do that, but you've done something that really resonates with me?
Yes, that's a very good thing to ask me, because that's what makes it fun. That's what makes this worth it. Because I always, the comment I like to hear is, for example, I'm doing a logo, and I do from 5 to 12. Different ideas.
Okay.
And when I see them have a hard time choosing, they go, wow, I like these. Then it's like, that's a good sign. So I love that process. They get delighted, because a lot of people I work with are, I really love to work with marketing directors, but oftentimes I'll work just with the executives that are assigned a project.
Sure.
And it's kind of a break in their day. It's a break in their routine. They're kind of doing a lot of not so much fun stuff, just stuff that has to get done. So they really enjoy it, and I feel really good that I can, be a part of this.
Well,
and it affects their business too. It helps them.
Sure, absolutely it does. And now with social media being such a ubiquitous marketing channel, I would think the work that you do, I mentioned some large brands, Disney and Boeing, the Irvine, UCI, but I know you also work with smaller companies and entrepreneurs as well, who now have a need to have consistent messaging on multiple platforms.
Exactly. Yeah. So that has to adapt. I mean, you kind of get a structure and a look and feel and a direction, and then you expand out wherever it's needed to the different channels.
Right.
So yeah, but like social media, you can't have a whole lot going on those because you just flip. Well, she knows.
She's pointing to our producer, who's a Gen Zer, I guess, sitting here in our studio.
Yeah. So you want to have impact and have a simple message, and then people are saying, yeah, but include this, include that, include something. Hold it down.
Right. So that's a delicate balance for you to be responsive to the customer's expectations, but also to help them to understand that maybe some of the things that they want to do wittily isn't in their best interests.
Yeah, and you've probably heard this 100 times. Yeah. So I can make suggestions, and having a good relationship with clients and having their trust after a while, they listen more, and I'm able to offer that. Although I just had a new client, he's new to me, but not a new company, and he's given me leeway right off the bat. I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome. I kind of I try to ease into it when they're new,
right?
And he goes, no, tell me what you think. Just do what you think is right. So
well, congratulations on a
that
new
one.
client. Yeah, it's always great to have new clients and retain your existing clients and grow your portfolio. Has your industry? This is a loaded question. If you say no, I'd be very surprised, ladies and gentlemen. Has it changed much over the years that you've been doing it? I would think the platforms, you must have more robust tools now than you've ever had. Maybe I haven't, but has your role changed? Have you been given better tools to help your clients to do the work that you're going to do for them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely with the computer programs, the apps and things. I mean, it's just it's a lot to learn, but it's right at our fingertips, and it's lovely. Yeah.
Right.
It is. But I'm a designer, so I'm not a marketing or social media person, so to speak. So all those changes are happening rapid fire. But I'm following along. I'm tracking along what they need, and adapting.
Right. And I would think that, like I said, more and more people need design help because they have more and more places to put their images of their brand so that they might attract.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's an Instagram feed or it's Facebook or Twitter, or LinkedIn. And from your perspective, you have to have the similar image on all those platforms, don't you?
Well, you have to have similar elements.
Yeah, that's the word.
You don't want it to be
professional.
Too boring, you want to have everything the same. But, there's a color scheme that goes along, or maybe a color palette, and there's a layout, kind of a look and feel. It's either, it's, for example, really contemporary, or it's kind of classical. I'm just giving you extremes there.
Sure.
So that it follows along, an identifiable, design. So as long as you just sort of know what to bring in, take out, you can carry over that identity without being too boring and repeating yourself too much. But and less is more in some cases. There's
less is more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like social media.
In design.
In design, but as far as the different media, like a brochure, you have time to look at everything. You got all this detail to read. A billboard, you're driving right past it, so it has to be pretty simple. And social media, zip, zip, zip. So grab attention, get the word out, and make an impression. So. Right. Yeah.
Well, you're in a
I know I wrote all this stuff, but she just
prepared for the interview, ladies and gentlemen. We're having a conversation. Is that all right?
That's good. That's better.
How we doing?
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
She's doing great. Teresa Fritzler. Fritzler Design is her firm, and I met you at an event for the American Marketing Association, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you were in the audience, and we hit it off, and I wanted you to be on the show, and now here you are. I don't know, 2 months later, maybe as my guest on Critical Mass Radio Show. Every entrepreneur who listens to my show recognizes that business is never easy, and there's always challenges that we have to maintain our
Right.
focus on. Could you share with our audience a challenge and
Right. Yeah,
and
I
maybe
had that written down.
what you're doing about addressing that challenge in your business?
Yeah, I this is what I was thinking about is every human, every business has their weaknesses, and you'll hear from artists and designers that a lot of them just don't know how to do business all the time, but they can create things. Well, I've been able to have a business for quite a while, so I think I caught on to that. But one of the things that I resist is the new business development part, the sales part. I'm just not a natural born salesperson. I'm a good networker. I love meeting people, but I'm working, and then I look up, I'm done, and I go, oh, I'm all finished with my projects, and I haven't thought ahead. So that's just always been a weakness in my business. But I seem to scramble, and you're supposed to call all the time, and do the LinkedIn posts and this and that. It's like, ugh. But when you're busy, it's hard to keep up.
Right.
For me, I mean, it takes discipline. I'm sure there's some way to do it. I just haven't gotten that down 100%. But I'm still around. I'm still busy, and most of the time.
But there are lulls in the business, then, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's like
there's lulls, and I don't like those.
no, who does? Who does out there on the radio show land listening to us now live on OC Talk Radio? We're on iHeartRadio. I'm not sure where you're listening to us. Maybe many of you are probably picking us up as a podcast. That Teresa, I wish I said that's the first time that I had heard that's a challenge for an entrepreneur that sat in this chair for Critical Mass Radio Show and podcast. Unfortunately, it's all too common, especially if your business is a project-based kind of business, right? You may have a long-term relationship with clients, but they probably
Right.
hire you for a specific series of things to get done, and then when they're done, they go quiet for a while until they need you again, right? It's that,
Yeah.
and all too often we get so busy doing the business that we don't think about the future for the business until we realize we have a very thin backlog, and the only advice I could give, and not that I'm here to give advice, even though I'm a business mentor, is allocate time every week to specifically do that,
Right.
regardless of how busy you are.
I know. I've heard that before, and I promised to do
I thought
it.
that was a new idea.
It's new. It's new to me today.
Okay.
Because I haven't done it yesterday.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a very good thing, and yes, I
Right.
should do that.
Right. It's
Right.
just an appointment you have to make, even
Yeah.
though it's an appointment with strangers. Right. It's outbound marketing or whatever might be.
It all works. It does work.
Right.
It's just I put it off.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yes. Well, it's only human nature. We'd rather be around people who know, like, and trust us than strangers who haven't met us yet many times, right? And
Yes.
so it's forcing that relationship. I'm a big believer on work-self-life balance. In other words, entrepreneurs can get very deep into the business, and so I'm wondering if you could describe how you balance the demands placed on you by your business. What is your strategy for caring for yourself, Teresa, in order that you can care for others in your life?
Oh, that's a really good question. Throughout my career, that's changed. When I was a young mother, that was a real challenge, to do all that balancing. And I did it. I just, kept the quality high. I kept learning and growing my business. And I was thinking way back then, I did so many things all at once. I bought a house, my first house. I had this child, and the dad didn't stick around. And, the business. And the reason I went into business actually was for my son. Because,
Really?
yeah, that's the truth. Because I wanted more flexibility than ad agencies seem to be able to give you. I mean, it's just like a voracious animal being in an ad agency, which is the natural place I would have gone. And so I wanted flexibility. So I started freelancing, and then opened up well, I didn't. I moved into an office with somebody, and then eventually took that over, and was doing it ever since. For that reason, because I wanted that balance. I wanted to be able to pick up my son and, be a mom and,
Right.
make food. And so anyhow, that was then. Then when he grew up, I was pretty free, and man, I was taking dance lessons. I've always exercised, so I always found time, except for lately. Now I'm back at being very busy, one of the 40 million baby boomers who are helping their elderly parents.
Okay.
So this has been, I don't know, it might be harder than having a small child, because, they don't listen to you, the parents, not that they're,
Right.
so it's just it's a new thing for me, and it's causing another challenge.
Right. And that can be, a number of my clients have become the sandwich generation, where they still have kids they're caring for, but then
Yeah.
they have to look out for their one or more of their parents. And
Now that's tricky. At least I've got my son on his way, or he's on his way, and now I can focus on my parents,
Right.
so,
right.
but you got to do it all, right?
Right. But it's important to care for yourself too, because
Yeah.
if you're not there for yourself, you're not there for anybody else. I mean, you just end up becoming depleted if you're not careful.
I'm trying to be careful, but I'm pretty tired lately.
Right.
I gotta say.
Right, but you're coming off great on the radio show here, Teresa, so all's good for me. We got a few more minutes here on the program. Where do you go to get outside ideas and perspectives from other entrepreneurs? I call it peer learning. I believe in the power of peer learning. So where do you go for that?
Oh, I do have a lot of good friends and associates, and we make a point of getting together. But since I've always been an independently employed, designer, I have felt the need to connect with trade associations. So,
Okay.
when my son was small, I didn't do any of that. But then,
Is his name Anthony?
yeah,
Oh, that's my middle name. I love that name.
Yay!
Hey, Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
he's probably going to see this, so that's
hope.
embarrass him in front of everyone. But anyhow, I started to get involved with AIGA, which is it's a design organization, American Institute for Graphic Arts. Yeah, so I got really involved with that group, loved it, got on the board, helped them with their monthly networking events, and made a lot of friends, and it was really, really positive. And now I'm into a marketing group called the American Marketing Association of Orange County.
Right.
I do all their social media graphics, and I try to support them as much as possible, with everything they need for their website, any kind of, they always call me, and I'm pretty much right there helping them. And I've met so many great people through that. And I actually did meet a client through that group.
Well, there you go.
I mean, not a lot of them, but,
Well.
everything grows. It's just organic.
You never
and
know.
You just never know. And I just feel it's really beneficial for me to learn from them.
Sure.
And we support each other and call each other. It's really very positive.
Because being an entrepreneur can be a little bit lonely.
Well, it's isolated.
It's
so
isolated,
you need
yeah.
to connect with people. If you're in a company, you got people all around.
Right.
Of course, they're walking in and out of your office. I don't know what that's like, but yeah, no, it's we need each other, and we
Right.
need, like you say, that's a good question. The peer group, and how do we connect with that?
So if someone would like to learn about your firm, how do they find you online?
Well, okay, my name's Teresa Fritzler, so I have a company called Fritzler Design, so it's just fritzlerdesign.com.
How would I spell that?
Fritzler Design.
Fritzler Design, and that's your website.
That's my website. Also, not many people have that last name. You can find me on LinkedIn real easy.
Okay. And I would suggest you reach out on LinkedIn. I think that's a
That's-
powerful platform. That's a good place to get connections.
It's a great. I love LinkedIn, actually.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do too. I
Yeah.
make a lot of new friends on LinkedIn over time.
Well, thank you for that, letting everybody know how to get a hold of me.
Of
That's
course.
very nice.
I'm hoping some will.
They
as well,
might.
and I think they just might. So thank you for being a friend of the program, a part of the critical mass community. It's been a joy having you on the show.
Oh,
And
thank
I appreciate
you.
how prepared you were for our interview today. It was a great time listening and talking with you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Rick,
You're welcome.
and Paul.
And I'd like to thank Paul Roberts, our producer and engineer for the show, our three producers without whom I could not do the show, Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and our newest producer, Vanessa Holland. If you want to connect with me, like I said, let's do it on LinkedIn. I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.